If God knows everything, do we really have free will? This is the question that haunted Albert Einstein for his entire life. And his answer? Well, it will disturb you. Because if Einstein was right, then every choice you've ever made was an illusion. Every decision you thought was yours was actually determined billions of years before you were even born. And that feeling of freedom you experience right now, as you decide whether to keep watching this video, is nothing more than a convincing lie. Your brain tells itself, Einstein did not believe in free will. He said it plainly. I am a determinist. As such, I do not believe in free will. These were not the words of a man who had given the question casual thought. Einstein spent decades wrestling with this paradox. He read philosophy. He debated with colleagues. He traced the implications of his own physics to their terrifying conclusions. And he emerged with a conviction that shattered his own intuitions about what it means to be human. But here is what makes Einstein's position so disturbing. He was not arguing from religion. He was not citing scripture or divine revelation. He was following the logic of physics itself. The same equations that describe the motion of planets and the bending of light led him to conclude that human beings have no more freedom than billiard balls bouncing on a table. Let me explain how Einstein reached this conclusion. In 1932, Einstein made a statement to the Spinoza Society that still shocks people today. He said, "Human beings in their thinking, feeling, and acting are not free, but are as causally bound as the stars in their motions." As causally bound as the stars. Think about what that means. When you look up at the night sky and see a star moving across the heavens, you do not imagine that star is choosing its path. You understand that gravity and momentum and the laws of physics determine exactly where that star will be at any given moment. The star has no choice. It follows the trajectory that the universe has set for it. Einstein believed the same is true for you. Your thoughts, your feelings, your decisions, all of them are the result of prior causes stretching back to the beginning of time. The neurons firing in your brain right now were determined by the neurons that fired a moment ago, which were determined by your breakfast, which was determined by your habits, which were determined by your childhood, which were determined by your parents' genes, which were determined by billions of years of evolution, which were determined by the initial conditions of the Big Bang. There is no point in this chain where genuine freedom enters. There is no moment where you step outside the causal sequence and make a truly independent choice. The feeling that you could have done otherwise is, according to Einstein, simply a failure of imagination. You cannot see all the causes that led to your decision, so you imagine there were no causes. But the causes were there. They were always there. Einstein found this idea not depressing but liberating. He quoted the philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer, whose words, he said, accompanied him in all situations throughout his life. Schopenhauer wrote, "A man can do what he wants, but he cannot want what he wants." Read that again. A man can do what he wants, but he cannot want what he wants. This is the heart of Einstein's position on free will. Yes, you act according to your desires. Yes, you pursue what you want. But you did not choose your desires. You did not select your wants. They arose in you from causes you did not control. Your preferences, your values, your deepest motivations, all of them were shaped by forces that existed before you were born. Einstein explained why this idea gave him peace. He said, "This awareness of the lack of free will keeps me from taking myself and my fellow men too seriously as acting and deciding individuals, and from losing my temper." Think about the implications. If no one truly chooses their actions, then anger at others becomes irrational. The person who wrongs you could not have done otherwise. The criminal, the liar, the betrayer, they were all following trajectories, as fixed as the paths of planets. Blaming them makes no more sense than blaming the moon for causing tides. This does not mean Einstein thought we should abandon morality or justice. He believed we still need laws and consequences, but he thought we should hold these with humility. We should recognize that the line between the saint and the sinner is not drawn by free choice, but by circumstance, by genetics, by upbringing, by the infinite web of causes that none of us selected. Einstein once noted that the Jews traditionally believe in free will. They believe that man shapes his own life, but Einstein rejected that doctrine philosophically. In that respect, he said, "I am not a Jew." This was a remarkable admission from a man who identified deeply with Jewish culture and suffered persecution for his Jewish heritage. Yet when it came to the metaphysics of choice, Einstein followed the logic wherever it led, even when it contradicted his own tradition. This is what made Einstein different from most thinkers. He did not start with a conclusion he wanted to reach and then find arguments to support it. He started with the evidence, with the physics, with the relentless logic of cause and effect. And he accepted whatever conclusion emerged, even if that conclusion was disturbing, even if it overturned everything he had been taught to believe. But here is where the question becomes truly profound. If Einstein was right about determinism, what does that mean for God? This is the paradox that gives our question its teeth. If God knows everything, if God is truly omniscient, then God knows exactly what you will do tomorrow. God knew it before you were born. God knew it before the universe began. And if God already knows what you will do, in what sense is your choice actually free? This is called the problem of divine foreknowledge, and philosophers have wrestled with it for thousands of years. But Einstein's physics added a new dimension to the puzzle. You see, Einstein's theory of relativity revealed something strange about time. In the four-dimensional space-time that his equations describe, the past and future are not fundamentally different. They both exist. The distinction between what has happened and what will happen is, in Einstein's famous phrase, a stubbornly persistent illusion. If this is true, then your future already exists. It is out there, in the fabric of space-time, as real and fixed as your past, and a being who could see the whole of space-time at once. The way we see all points on a map simultaneously would see your entire life laid out, from birth to death, every choice already made, every decision already determined. Einstein believed in what he called Spinoza's God. This wasn't a personal God, you know, the kind who listens to prayers or jumps into human affairs. No, this was the mathematical structure of reality itself, the laws of physics, the order that makes the universe comprehensible. And this God, Einstein believed, was deterministic. This God didn't play dice with the universe. This God set the initial conditions at the Big Bang and let the equations unfold with perfect precision ever since, including every thought that would ever pass through every human mind. Einstein famously said, "God does not play dice." He was arguing with the quantum physicists of his day, who claimed that at the subatomic level, events are genuinely random. Einstein refused to accept this. He believed that what looked like randomness was just hidden information, that if we could see deeply enough, we would find that everything, even quantum events, follows deterministic laws. The physicist Niels Bohr reportedly responded, "Stop telling God what to do." It was a witty comeback, but it missed Einstein's deeper point. Einstein wasn't telling God what to do. He was describing what he believed God actually does. And what God does, according to Einstein, is run a clockwork universe, where every event follows necessarily from what came before. Now, you might object. You might say that Einstein was wrong about quantum mechanics, that experiments have shown genuine randomness exists at the subatomic level, that the universe is not deterministic after all. And this is true. Modern physics has largely sided with Bohr over Einstein on this question. Quantum events do appear to be fundamentally random. No hidden variables explain them. But here's the strange thing. Quantum randomness does not actually save free will. Think about it. If your decisions are determined by prior causes, you have no free will. But if your decisions are random, you also have no free will. Random choices are not free choices. They're just noise. A coin flip is not an expression of freedom. It's the absence of any choice at all. So whether Einstein was right about determinism or the quantum physicists were right about randomness, the conclusion seems to be the same. Genuine free will, the kind where you could have truly done otherwise, appears to be impossible. Modern neuroscience has added another layer to this debate. In 2023, Stanford neuroscientist Robert Sapolsky published a book arguing that free will is entirely an illusion. He spent decades studying the brain and concluded that every decision we make is the result of prior neural states, which are the result of genetics, hormones, childhood experiences, and countless other factors we never chose. On the other side, neuroscientist Kevin Mitchell argues that the brain is not fully deterministic. There are enough random elements in neural processes that pure determinism cannot explain our behavior. But as we discussed, randomness does not equal freedom either. The debate continues. New experiments using brain electrodes are probing the moment of decision, trying to determine whether our sense of choice is real or constructed after the fact. The results so far are ambiguous. Science has not definitively answered the question Einstein posed. But what is remarkable is that Einstein anticipated these debates decades before the neuroscience caught up. He saw where the logic was heading. He understood that the human feeling of freedom might be the greatest trick evolution ever played on us. This is the trap that Einstein saw more clearly than most. Either your choices are caused, in which case they were inevitable, or your choices are uncaused, in which case they are random. Neither option gives you the freedom you think you have. And yet, Einstein admitted something remarkable. He said, "Practically, I am nevertheless compelled to act as if freedom of the will existed." Even Einstein, who believed free will was an illusion, could not escape acting as though it were real. He still deliberated. He still weighed options. He still felt the pull of possibility when facing decisions. The illusion, it seems, is built into us so deeply that even knowing it is an illusion does not make it go away. This may be the most profound insight of all. Einstein used an analogy that I find haunting. He said, "If the moon, in the act of completing its eternal way around the Earth, were gifted with self-consciousness, it would feel thoroughly convinced that it was traveling its way of its own accord." He continued, "So would a being, endowed with higher insight and more perfect intelligence, watching man and his doings, smile about man's illusion that he was acting according to his own free will. This is Einstein imagining a higher being looking down at humanity, not judging us, not condemning us, simply smiling at our innocent confusion, the way we might smile at a child who believes they are steering a car from their toy steering wheel in the back seat. The moon would feel free. It would experience its orbit as a choice. It would have no awareness of the gravitational forces compelling its path. And if you told the moon that its sense of freedom was an illusion, it would not believe you. How could it? The illusion is all it knows. Einstein believed we are like that moon. We orbit through our lives feeling free. feeling that we choose our paths, feeling that tomorrow is open and undetermined. But a being with higher insight, Einstein said, would smile at our illusion, would see that we are as bound as the planets, as causally determined as the stars. So what does this mean for the question we started with? If God knows everything, do we have free will? Einstein's answer was clear: no, we do not have free will. And God's omniscience is not even the main problem. The main problem is that we live in a universe governed by causal laws. Whether or not God exists, whether or not God knows our future, we are still determined by the chain of causes stretching back to the origin of everything. But Einstein did not think this should make us despair. He found beauty in determinism. He found peace in recognizing that he was part of a vast cosmic order, not a random accident. He found comfort in knowing that his failures and successes were not really his own, not in the deepest sense. They were the universe expressing itself through him. Think about what this means for how you view your own life. Every achievement you are proud of was not really yours. The universe achieved it through you. Every failure that haunts you was not really your fault. The universe failed through you. You are an instrument, a vessel, a particular configuration of atoms through which the cosmos experiences and expresses itself. Some people find this terrifying: the loss of personal credit, the loss of personal blame, the dissolution of the self into something larger. But Einstein found it liberating. He no longer had to carry the weight of being the author of his own life. He could simply be a character in a story that was being written by forces far greater than himself. And perhaps most importantly, Einstein found compassion. If no one truly chooses their actions, then everyone deserves understanding. The person who hurts you is not evil. They are caught in the same web of causation that holds you. The person who helps you is not virtuous. They are simply following the trajectory that circumstances have set for them. This does not mean we stop distinguishing right from wrong. It means we hold our judgments more gently. We recognize that there, but for the grace of causation, go we. Now, you might be watching this and feeling disturbed. You might be thinking that Einstein must be wrong, that you can feel your freedom right now, that you could stop watching this video at any moment if you chose to. This is the most common objection to determinism. The feeling of freedom seems so real, so immediate, so undeniable. How can something that feels this real be an illusion? But consider this. Every optical illusion feels real too. When you see the lines that appear to bend on a page, they really look bent. Your brain is absolutely convinced they are bent, and yet you know intellectually that they are straight. The feeling of reality does not guarantee actual reality. Einstein would say, our feeling of freedom is like that, an illusion so convincing that we cannot shake it, even when we understand intellectually that it cannot be true. Evolution built this illusion into us because organisms that feel free are more motivated than organisms that feel determined. The illusion serves survival, whether or not it reflects truth. And you could stop watching, but Einstein would ask, where did that choice come from? What caused you to consider stopping? What causes are operating right now? That will determine whether you actually do stop or continue watching. You cannot answer these questions fully. You cannot trace all the causes that led to this moment. And because you cannot see the causes, you experience their result as freedom. But the causes are there. According to Einstein, they were always there, they will always be there, and they determine everything. If you have stayed with me through this journey into one of the deepest questions human beings can ask, then you are not someone who accepts easy answers. You want to understand reality, even when reality is uncomfortable. This is the kind of exploration that most channels avoid. It is easier to tell people what they want to hear, easier to confirm their intuitions about freedom and choice and responsibility. But Einstein refused easy answers, and so do we. When you click the super thanks button below this video, you are supporting a different kind of content. Content that wrestles with hard questions. Content that follows the evidence, even when it leads to disturbing places. Content that respects your intelligence enough to share the full complexity of what geniuses like Einstein actually believed. Your support is not just financial, it is a vote for depth over shallow entertainment. Thank you to everyone who has already contributed. You make this work possible. Now, let me tell you what I believe Einstein would say to you. If he could speak to you directly, he would say, do not be troubled by the loss of free will. You never had it in the first place. What you are losing is only an illusion, and illusions are not worth keeping. He would say, you are part of something vast and beautiful. The same laws that move galaxies move your thoughts. The same order that shapes the cosmos shapes your choices. You are not separate from the universe. You are the universe, becoming conscious of itself. He would say, treat others with compassion. They did not choose to be who they are, any more than you did. The cruelty you see in the world is not evil freely chosen. It is suffering expressing itself through damaged people. And the kindness you see is the universe healing itself through those fortunate enough to be shaped toward love. He would say, keep asking questions. The fact that you have no free will does not mean inquiry is pointless. Your questioning is itself part of the causal chain. Your search for truth is the universe searching for truth through you. And finally, he would say, make peace with the mystery. We cannot fully understand consciousness or choice or the relationship between mind and matter. Einstein spent his life trying to find a unified theory of physics. He failed, but his failure was glorious. It pushed the boundaries of human understanding further than they had ever gone. Perhaps the question of free will is like that. Perhaps it cannot be fully answered. Perhaps the paradox between our feeling of freedom and our understanding of causation is built into the structure of reality, a koan that the universe poses to itself through beings like us. There is a famous thought experiment that philosophers use to explore this question. Imagine that scientists develop a perfect brain scanner. They can predict with 100% accuracy what you will choose before you choose it. They know you will order coffee before you walk into the cafe. They know you will marry your spouse before you meet them. They know every decision you will ever make. Would you still feel free? Would your choices still feel like choices? Most people say yes, even with the prediction. The experience of choosing would remain, the deliberation, the weighing of options, the sense that you are the one making the decision. But would you be, or would you just be watching yourself follow a script that was written before you were born? Einstein lived with this question. Every day he knew that his physics suggested everything was determined, and yet he kept choosing, kept deliberating, kept acting as though his decisions mattered. The illusion was too powerful to escape, even for the man who saw through it. If God knows everything, do we have free will? Einstein said, no, physics seems to agree. And yet we continue to experience choice. We continue to feel responsible. We continue to act as though tomorrow is open. Perhaps that is the deepest truth, that we are determined beings who cannot help but feel free, causal creatures who experience themselves as causes, parts of a vast machine, who have the strange property of looking back at the machine and asking how it works. This is the human condition, according to Einstein, not freedom, and not quite slavery either. Something stranger, something that our categories cannot quite contain. You did not choose to watch this video. The causes that led you here stretch back billions of years, but something in you resonates with these questions. Something in you refuses to accept surface answers. That something is also determined, but it's beautiful nonetheless. Whether determined or free, you are here. You're asking questions, you're searching for truth, and that search, whatever sparked it, connects you to every human being who has ever looked up at the stars and wondered why. Comment free will if something inside you still believes in choice. If, despite everything Einstein said, you can't shake the feeling that your decisions are your own. Comment determined if Einstein convinced you. If you see the logic of cause and effect and accept that free will is an illusion, one we can't escape, but shouldn't cling to. And tell me, does this change how you see yourself? Does knowing that your choices might be predetermined affect how you live your life? I read every comment in the first 2 hours. This is one of those topics where the conversation is just as valuable as the video itself. Because the question isn't settled. Physics gives us determinism, experience gives us freedom, and we live in the tension between them. Einstein lived in that tension his whole life. He never fully resolved it, but he kept asking the question. In his final years, Einstein wrote that this question was one of the deepest he had ever encountered. Deeper even than relativity, deeper than quantum mechanics, because it touches not just on how the universe works, but on who we are, on whether the self that seems to be making choices is real or illusory, on whether moral responsibility has any foundation or is just a useful fiction. He died without answering it definitively. The equations on his deathbed were about physics, not philosophy. But the question of free will haunted him to the end. It haunted him because he could see both sides so clearly. The logic of determinism, the undeniable feeling of freedom, and no way to reconcile them. Perhaps that is the human condition, to be caught between what we know and what we feel, to understand intellectually that we might be determined while experiencing ourselves as free, to live in a paradox that cannot be escaped. And now, so do you.